Welcome to the Brothers in Prayer podcast. Now, with your hosts Drew Hammond, Xander Johnson, and Dylan Burkett.
Hello and welcome back to the Brothers in Prayer podcast. This is episode number 4 of our Advent series titled, But Wait, There's More. My name is Drew Hammond.
I'm Xander Johnson.
I'm Dylan Burkett.
And we are super excited in the booth this week because there are 5 days until Christmas and we can't wait here. I know, Xander, what have you been doing to prepare for kind of Christmas throughout the whole Advent season? Because I know it's been crazy.
Yeah, so for this Advent season, I've been really focusing on reevaluating my life and then looking to see where God is in my life and then placing him in the center of my life and really just kind of focusing on Jesus and focusing on God and then trying to cut out all the things in my life that are negatively affecting me and just focus on God, because when we do focus on God, we find true happiness and our lives are just better.
Love it.
What about
great.
you, Dylan?
Perfect answer. For me, I think it's something along the lines of the fact that, Jesus comes down during this time and he humbles himself and is born through Mary. And for me, it's really just looking at the idea of how can I be more humble in my life? How can I live to serve others through Christ? And how can I just live a life that Jesus would?
Love it. And I think for me, it's all about kind of making sure we keep Christ in Christmas, right? And so for me, whenever I get excited for Christmas and the presents I'm going to receive, I just take a moment to kind of reflect on why we're celebrating in the first place, right?
Yeah,
that's the fact that Jesus came down on earth, right? So I'd say take some time to reflect on that too.
Yeah.
So Xander, what are the readings for this week?
All right, so the gospel reading for today comes from Luke chapter 1, verses 26 through 38. It's the Annunciation. So the angel Gabriel appears to Mary and says, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." Mary's frightened, and then Gabriel says, "Do not be afraid, for you have found favor with God." Gabriel tells Mary that she was chosen by God to have a child who will be called the Son of God. And through all of this, Mary's just so confused because she has no relations with a man. She's a virgin. But Gabriel tells her to trust in God. But Gabriel also mentions that Mary's cousin Elizabeth is also having a child. But at the end of it, it's one of my favorite lines ever. Mary just says, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." And that's Mary's yes,
That's
right?
so cool.
That's just Mary's saying, "God, I have no clue what's going on right now, but I'm going to trust in you, yes." And so that just brings a peace to everything. Mary's confused, but she's almost kind of at a point of peace in the way of peace in God. And so that's the theme for this week of Advent.
Yeah,
peace.
I think that's amazing. And I think one thing that I kind of took from that, or two things actually, is that courage that she had to say yes. I mean, imagine yourself, okay, right? You're on your way to school, you're just driving to school, minding your own business, and all of a sudden you hear this big thundering voice of God. And he's like, the Lord, or an angel, and he's like, "The Lord is with you." And you're like, what? I would be so confused and so scared. I would have no idea what to do. And I mean, I think she has every reason to be frightened here. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she was willing to take it all in, everything, you're going to have my son. And she said yes, I think that is so huge.
Yeah.
It took so much courage to do something like that.
Well, kind of to back off of that, it's crazy too, because if you look at the punishment of having a relations with a man outside of marriage for the time period, Mary could have been stoned for having a kid before marriage, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it just goes to show both. One, obviously, Joseph, Mary's soon-to-be spouse, right, had a vision later on that basically said, hey, what Mary's saying is true. Mm-hmm. But Mary's courage to go up to him and be like, hey, I'm pregnant and it's not your kid, right? That's huge for the time period.
And just also, it really just emphasizes that trust she had in God and that courage overall. And so, really, as we said, the theme for this week of Advent is peace. But there's Mary is almost I don't want to say burdened, right? But there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of anxiety that probably came with this. But she finds peace in God, and it's kind of almost relating to what can happen in the holidays. When it comes up to the holidays and comes up to Christmas, it can be a very stressful time for a lot of people. And just, for me anyway, reading this gospel, it's almost like it conveys the message of trust in God and peace will come in your life.
100%. And with that, I mean, the idea that like God is there with you, I think is so peaceful. I mean, I know like I was talking about just a few seconds ago how intimidating it would be to hear that the Lord is with you. But at the same time, when you think about it, it can almost bring you peace as well.
Yeah.
Just that fact that like no matter where you go, you can't shy away from God's love. You can't hide from it, and He's always going to be with you. Yeah. And I think that's something really cool.
It's huge. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. That about wraps up this episode of the Brothers in Prayer podcast. We just cut out there. So we're going to cut there. Keep going. Right,
no, because there was more. There was how
Mary... Okay, we'll cut there. We'll just act like nothing happened.
Because in the audio, it won't lapse up. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And...
Ready? And...
So clap again.
Ready?
Yep.
Ready?
So something that I really want to focus on as well is that Mary is the Queen of Peace. So something about that is just with the theme of peace this week of Advent, it's kind of cool how the gospel reading deals with Mary because we call Mary the Queen of Peace. And so if you are in a position where your life where you are not at a place of peace, I would really ask you to ask Mary to intercede for you. Maybe pray the rosary because like at Fatima, Mary wanted us to pray the rosary for peace of the world. So that's another reassuring message that Mary is the Queen of Peace.
Love it. And I think one thing, too, that I always love learning about is there's something called the Devotional to Mary, right? A Devotion to Mary.
Yeah.
It's 30 days where you pray to Mary every single night, right?
Yes.
And they say that the point of this is that you do it once in your life for one 30-day period of time, right? And when you die and you go to heaven, this is totally theological specified, right? But they say that when you're in front of God, it's Judgment Day, right? God's trying to decide if you go to heaven or hell. Mary will come up to you and present all of the graces, all of the good blessings that you are in your entire body. Mary will present those blessings that you are to God Himself, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And isn't that crazy too?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's crazy how that one 30-day devotion to Mary can actually affect your outcome in the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
So I just think I encourage you guys to look in that. It's the 30 Days of Morning Glory, I think it's what it's called. It's
I know,
awesome.
I definitely will. I've never heard of that.
It's St. Louis de Montfort's book. And it's I've looked into it. From what I've seen and what I've talked to people who have done it, they say it's just an amazing experience. And you really see the impact and just how awesome Mary is.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I think that for this week of Advent, Christmas is coming up in 5 days. Maybe just pray a rosary or focus a little bit on Mary's yes and then how you yourself in your own life can say yes to God. So with that, stay tuned for our Christmas video, which will be coming in 5 days. We'll have a special guest coming on for our Christmas video. Look forward to that. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap it up right here, guys. Have a wonderful 4th week of Advent. Awesome. Stay tuned for Christmas.
Hey, St. John Baptist de La Salle.
Pray for us.
Live Jesus in our hearts
Forever.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Brothers in Prayer podcast. Our producer is Peter Coco. Our creative director is Xander Johnson. And our media relations director is Drew Hammond. Tune in every Thursday for more.